Hi and welcome to Tales from the Hut and Hangar, my 6 Aviation Images, and this is with Dave Linney. And also sat alongside Dave today is Rick Lee, because straight after this recording we're going to do a special on the Orca Hunter, a plane that was much loved and flown by both Dave and Rick. In the descriptions I'll put up a link to this and also to Dave's recent podcast and Rick's, so you can catch up and get some background on both the guys. So I hope you enjoy it. So first of all, Dave, we got a terrific picture of a Harrier taking off in a cloud of dust. So what's the story of that?
There's a little bit of a story to this one. When we were in Germany, we used to deploy to field sites, farmers' fields and woods and things for 2 weeks, 3 times a year. All the squadrons would go out. And generally we were operating off grass. If it was really soft, the engineers would put down some aluminium planking. But this particular picture is of me taking off at a site near Borken in North Germany, and it was taken by a chap called Jim Arkle, who's in the ditch looking at the runway. The little flag in front is the nozzle rotation point, which is pre-planned for the temperature and everything else on the day and the aircraft performance. And we would rush down the strip and nozzle off at that point and just transition, climb away. Now, because it was a hot period, we were using water injection. And in the early days, when you selected water injection, which basically threw water at the turbine, so cool it down, you could put more fuel through, get more power. And with water injection on, you get 106.5% RPM, which is quite a lot of extra thrust. And the snag was, at that particular time, the system hadn't been modified, and if for any reason the water stopped flowing, it automatically cut the aeroplane back to 103.5. Oh, right. Which was quite a loss.
Didn't want that.
No, you didn't. And in this particular incident, just as I'm rotating the nozzles here, the water pump on this aeroplane seized, and the RPM cut back to 103.5%. And I was then having to transition away at about the height you see there.
There's poo coming out the back there.
Well, there's a lot of dust. There's a bit of poo as well.
I shouldn't have said that. Anyway,
but I transitioned across this potato field at about that height, which was a bit further on, and dug up half its crop, I should think. So it was quite exciting. Jim got blasted with dust and blown into the ditch, but it's a picture with a few fond memories.
Yeah, it's really a real action shot, isn't it? It's great.
Yeah. It was exciting operating aeroplanes like that out in the wild, as it were.
Yeah, brilliant. What year was that then?
That would have been round about, we're at Field, so round about 75, 76. Oh, okay.
Brilliant. Right, moving on to the next one. I think we know what that is. It's Harry and you and someone else. Somewhere hot, maybe?
Yeah, it's hot. It's in Belize, and that I
his
think
boyfriend there?
No, that's
sorry, I missed that.
Well, he might have been.
Yeah.
No, he's one of the ground crew. This was in Charlie Delta Hide. We had 2 hide areas with 4 airplanes, two airplanes in each hide, and a little bunch of ground crew and armourers and all the rest of it went with it. So about 20 guys, and this is me about to get into the aeroplane to go and do some bombing or some rocketing. I can't see what's fitted there.
Killing the locals.
And the hides were constructed when they went out there in 1975 to keep the Guatemalans out.
What, the metal, like a metal square was with netting over the top?
Well, those are just stacks and stacks of 45-gallon drums filled with sand piled on top of each other, and then a bit of woodwork around them, and then cam nets over the top. Reasonably effective at hiding the aeroplanes, but it was excruciatingly hot there.
Can imagine.
We used to start flying early in the morning and finish by lunchtime, a bit like the guys in the forest. Well, like Rick probably did out in Tanga. That was good fun operating out there. My own little air force, that was.
Did they have their own pen for each aircraft, or was it?
They were side by side.
Right.
in the hind.
That nose on the front of it, Dave, explain why that's different from the other Harriers. Is that a recce one or?
No, that was a modification. Came in the sort of mid-70s.
Oh, we mentioned that in the other one, didn't we? Yeah.
Okay.
It's a
Dolphin nose as well.
laser range and marked target seeker. It makes it look like a dolphin.
Yeah.
But it's a good bit of kit
Yeah, brilliant.
fed into the attack system.
Okay, moving on to the next one, which is just wow! What a great shot that is.
This is an interesting one.
on fire, is it?
That's firing SNEB rockets. I'm not on fire now.
Oh no. Okay.
Back in the mid-80s, the Air Force, in their wisdom, decided that SNEB, which was a very good rocket firing system, would be scrapped, and we'd get the cluster bomb units. It was for attacking armour, and both the SNEB and the little cluster bombs had shape-charged heads, which were used to penetrate armour. Now, we were particularly irked by this decision because we felt that on the OCU, as I was then on the staff, we felt that SNEB was a better weapon. So my boss at the time, Bruce Monk, said, well, let's go and do a trial. So we went up to Scotland and we did a trial against the targets on Tain Range, a load of tanks, which they'd used for the cluster bomb trials. And Bruce went out and he marked all the holes in these tanks where the cluster bombs had hit and put a paint ring around them so that we could differentiate from the SNEB. We also decided to fire the SNEB level at about 100 feet, whereas normally you would be in a dive. And by firing it level, it meant you could fire at a longer range, and that enabled you then, once you fired the rockets, to break out left or right level and not overfly the target, which of course with the CBU you had to overfly the target to drop the ruddy thing. So we did this trial, and we were firing 4 full pods of SNEB from the practice launchers, so that's 72 rockets. And when you press the button, all 72 rockets are gone within 0.6 of a second.
That is amazing.
So it's quite a sight. And the other thing about that, you imagine being a soldier on the ground or in the tanks or in an APC,
cool,
and you see 72 rockets, supersonic rockets coming at you. We got lots of hits on the tanks because they tended to almost level off in ground effect and fly a long way. So we got a pattern which was almost 800 metres long, and about 50 metres wide. And anything with vertical extent would take quite a few hits.
Yeah.
And we measured the depth of penetration of the SNEB hits and compared them with the CBUs, and we were getting double the penetration.
What height were you coming in there, Dave?
We'd come in between 150 and 100 feet, probably fired about 100 feet, just under. So quite exciting. And of course, the other thing you can perhaps gather from the picture, there's a lot of efflux comes out of the back of the back of the pods when you fire all these rockets off, and that caused an effect on the airflow over the tailplane. So as you press the button, the aeroplane pitched down, which is quite exciting at 100 feet, only momentarily. And then as soon as the rockets are gone, you can break out, 6-7G breakout to give the ground defence a job tracking problem.
Terrific photograph, isn't it?
It's good
really
photograph,
good. Action shot, brilliant.
Very good.
Good sport.
Right, on to the next one. Falcon 20.
Oh yeah, this was after I left the Air Force and after I'd left Fradu. I went down to Bournemouth to fly the Falcon 20, doing a very similar job to the one we'd done at Yeovilton. We would act as a launch platform for, in those days then it was the Hawks, to go and simulate Exocet sea skimmers. We'd launch them at 40 miles and they'd drop down 50 feet and run in, where's the ships? But we also at the same time we were doing radar jamming, comm jamming, radar spoofing as we ran in. So it gave the ships quite a threat. And the other thing we did with the Falcon was target towing. We could tow a whole range of targets. Probably the most interesting one we did was towing for the vertical launch Seawolf, and we'd put a target out on 30,000 foot of wire behind us.
30,000 foot?
30,000 foot.
Good grief.
And that target would fly at about 25 feet over the sea, and we'd be at about 4,000 feet. And to turn at the end of the run, you had to climb at least 2,000 feet before you started the turn, because the droop of the target in the turn would put it in the water. Yeah, that was good. You know, against those sort of weapons, it was quite exciting.
Was it heavily modified inside, or did it still have some executive seats, or just ripped out? Or
I think our airplanes, a lot of them were bought from the American freight.
Federal Express.
Federal
They had
Express.
loads, didn't they? Yeah.
FedEx, and they had big doors on the side for loading pallets.
How many crew did you have on that, Dave?
Pilot and co-pilot, and then an EWO sat down the back in the cabin, who would, if you were doing a jamming or something like that, he'd work all the pods. If you were target towing, he would operate the winches and winching the target out and then checking the tension.
No hosties then?
No hostess. When I first arrived at Bournemouth, they had a couple of aeroplanes they used for what do they call it? Charter.
All right.
For pop stars and all those nauseating sort of people. And
they're nice to fly.
They are very nice to fly. They
look
they handle like a Hunter with an elastic band motor rather than labour.
Okay.
So they're not hugely powerful.
They always look really nice.
Yeah, we were limited to 330 knots, I think, but that was for bird strike.
Keith, isn't it? It's the sort of aeroplane that you're used to. Then.
Well, like Falcon 10s are
gentleman's
nice.
aeroplane.
Yeah, Falcon 10s and smaller ones. They look really racy, and
we'll buy you one.
They're quite old, though. I mean,
yeah.
When I left, some of them were over 20 years old.
Yeah, they've been going for years, haven't they?
In fact, more than that.
Brilliant. Yeah, really good picture.
Where are you there in the snow?
That's up in Scotland in the Western Highlands. And of course, the nice thing about when I went down to Bournemouth to fly this thing, we still operated up in Scotland on joint maritime course exercises and things, and we could low flight 250 feet.
But I imagine they had good range as well, being a bizjet in a way. Did they have good range?
Yeah, it wasn't that good. It was about 1,100, 1,200 miles. Wasn't that brilliant? You could just about get to jib in one. But,
same as a Hunter.
Bit tight. Yeah,
good one. That different. And now the next one.
Oh, goodness me.
Look at that.
This is the other end of the spectrum. After I retired in 2007, I started flying my
1911
SE5 with
back in time.
Yeah, back in time. With the Great War Display team, and I led the team for about 14 of my 15 years. And this is transiting. We'd just done the display at Bournemouth Seafront, and we're transiting back to Lyon Solent, where we're operating out of. And that's me leading, what have we got there? Another SE5, a Junker CL1, two Fokker triplanes, the BE2 with photos taken from. And on the outside of the BE2 was a Sopwith triplane.
Wow.
Yeah, quite fun flying around with all those airplanes.
But it must have been great just looking out and seeing that.
Yeah.
When you're flying along, thinking this is weird, isn't it? This is unreal.
Yeah, it was unreal, and
flying your model that you used to make, basically.
That's right.
Flak in the background. Oh, they're clouds.
No.
Flak from the Germans.
We did have flak when we displayed. We had a Paros team on the ground.
Yeah, they were good,
and they fired lots of flak in the air and big explosions.
There's a great picture down there, isn't there, on the wall? On the
yeah,
wall. Brilliant.
It was great fun.
Good stuff.
But sooner or later, you've got to
jammy.
Yeah, but just you could look out for ages, couldn't you?
I envy that, yeah.
And now the next one, well, it's one of those
very
things.
handsome young man. This is me at Chivener in 1970. I was holding on 79 Squadron with Chris Golds.
Holding on to the front windscreen there.
Yeah.
Oh, right, I see what you mean, yeah.
I was either trying to pull myself in or pull myself out.
What the hell's that in there? What's the gun port's got something in it, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's all right. They're looking at the gun port on the left-hand side of the bottom.
I can't see what that is.
Did you do air to ground there? That's why.
Yes, we did.
So you did.
Yeah, we did all the usual stuff.
You were holding ready for
skip
Harriers.
bombing, dive bombing, strafes, rocketing.
Very
Yeah,
good. What
good.
squadron were you on? Can you remember?
That was when I was on 79 Squadron holding as a
Holding at
as a
79,
holding
that's
student.
right, yeah.
And then I did my pre-Harrier course on the Hunter at 234 Squadron, a couple hundred yards down the road.
Wow.
Yeah,
Happy days.
good picture that. Anyway, that's a good one to end on, because we're going to go over
Gonna.
in another episode and talk about the Hunter. But, yeah, thanks for those pictures, Dave.
Very good. Real mixture.
Yeah, good. Thank you.